Knock, knock.
Who's there?
It's Beth.
Hey, Beth. Thanks for joining me today, Beth. I appreciate you coming on to the Knock Academy's podcast. So before we get started, I just want to let everybody know how I know you, and then I'd love for you to kind of introduce yourself, tell everybody about who you are and what obviously we're going to really talk about today and dive into. So I know Beth because we worked together. Our worlds collided last year, and I feel like, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, I feel like we kind of gelled from the get-go. We just had, I don't know, like similar energy. And then I think your birthday's close to my birthday as well, January. Yeah, so then we went on like this whole, hey, we're the same star sign. And you know what, just a lot of, I think our experiences in personal life and fitness industry are very similar. I think we have very similar morals and insights and viewpoints on things. So I was really excited to invite you onto the podcast and just, get some great conversation going. So thank you for joining me today. I'm going to hand it over to you and you can tell everyone all about yourself.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me. And I mean, I love working with you, Nikki, because I love working with smart, talented people, and you are that kind of person. So it's just delightful to work with you. Although we have never actually met in person, we've tried a few times to get together, but we are virtual colleagues and friends. I think it's just lovely to come onto this podcast and to speak with you about body image and the fitness industry. And those are two things I'm pretty knowledgeable about. I have a lot of lived experience in, and I think that's kind of what we wanted to center our conversation around today is body image and weight stigma.
Yeah, so much so. Sorry, I'm playing around with my, there we go. I'm running out of battery, myself and my laptop. I think that comes with age. Anyways, yes, I totally agree with you. The body image thing in our industry, let's be honest, has always been there. And I think whether people have done it consciously or unconsciously, it still remains, right? And I think putting hand on heart, Beth, I think that includes myself too, right?
Oh, for sure.
And
we all have it.
Yeah, of course, right? And I think this is a great conversation to have for that reason, not necessarily just because of our industry, because I think it does echo through multiple industries, right? But especially our industry where, a lot of why people exercise is that aesthetic, right? And I know that things are changing now, and a lot of it is to do with mental health and wellness and the greater good. But, when it comes down to the nuts and bolts and it comes down to, let's say, an outsider looking in, really that's what people come up with, right? Is you go to the gym to look good. So therefore, everybody that must work in the industry has to look good. Otherwise, they're not good at what they do. Am I right in kind of making those kind of blanket statements and assumptions, Beth? Is that kind of the stuff that you've come up against?
Oh, for sure. For sure. And just for our listeners out there, look good is definitely something Nikki is putting in quotations, air quotes.
Oh, yeah.
So I think, Nikki, everybody has struggled with some sort of body image concern at some point in their life. Definitely for me, it started as a young girl. Just grew up in a house where, appearance was important. Being in a thinner body was always coveted. My mom, she did do a lot of dieting, and I was in dance, and that kind of put some pressure on me as well. So early on, I had a larger body than many of my peers growing up in school. And I always wanted a smaller body because in our diet culture, that's what is seen to be valued, which is total crap. But that became my internal navigation system, is to always try to be in a smaller body. Luckily, I found group fitness, and group fitness, I felt, very happy to be involved in. It just brought out this loving energy, being in the same room as people with music and all moving in sync with each other. It feels like a heartbeat to me. It is just like an internal driver. And so in university, I definitely gained a lot of weight in university through like eating in residence and just being away from home and trying to figure things out. And I felt like not great about my body for sure in university, and became a certified group fitness instructor, but always had these concerns that I didn't look the part. I was curvy. I had gained weight, like I said, in university, and then it just eventually manifested into more and more concern, like taking up a lot of my time, tracking calories in, tracking calories out, going low carb, going no carb, working out 2-3 times a day, like just total focus on trying to find that smaller size, which is just not healthy for my body type. Genetically, it's just not, right?
It's completely exhausting and all-consuming, right?
Yeah.
It's
I laugh.
obsessive.
I know. I laugh and I think I could have probably achieved a PhD by now if I had just used the time that I spent focusing on calorie counting and what diet I could do, and weighing myself daily. So it became quite a problem. And I hid it really well. It was affecting my health, including my fertility. But I did manage to get pregnant, and I had twins. And I always, I just love the idea of twins. I have 2 girls. They're almost 15. And when I was pregnant, I gained over 100 pounds. So I was over 200 pounds. And honestly, like just going to the doctors and stepping on that scale was just horrifying for me. And I was always thinking, how can I lose this baby weight? Like that was the pressure, not just I was not a full-time fitness professional at that time. It was a part-time thing for me. I was working full-time in human resources and working on career development activities. So it was just like, I didn't feel the same pressure maybe that you felt working more full-time in the industry, but I certainly felt like always from the beginning, I didn't have the body type, quote, air quotes there, to do this job of facilitating fitness. So when I gave birth to my twins, it became even more consuming to lose the baby weight. And I think now about the things I did to myself, which were not, they were not healing, they were harmful. Like just thinking about pelvic floor dysfunction for moms, thinking about core strength, diastasis recti. I mean, I definitely had that because I got very big in my belly having 2 babies inside of me. Yeah. So my pelvic floor was wrecked, right? But I was doing planks and push-ups and all these prone positions loaded and burpees and trying to get back to running and just anything I could do to try to lose the baby weight. And I think about functional fitness now. Like I've obviously done a lot of work, having been identified by my doctors having an eating disorder and over exercise syndrome, and kind of working through that since for the last 5-6 years. But it was, just functional fitness. I could not pick up my twins together anytime that they were a baby, like from when they were 4 and 5 pounds each, when they were newborns. Like obviously I was weak, because I had just delivered them and gone through a pregnancy, but it was more like even as they got older and their little heads became more stable and they became more stable, I could never pick them up, especially off the floor. I couldn't like be on the floor playing with them and pick them up and stand up. And I think if I had the right coach or trainer and kind of just the mental health professional at the time, instead of focusing on how many workouts I can do and how little calories I can eat to try to get into a calorie deficit, and I just focused on having like restorative health and movement for my body that had gone through pregnancy and delivery, and focused on that function of actually playing on the floor, being able to pick up my daughters at the same time, would have made my life a lot easier. But I was so concerned about how I looked, that I had to get that 100 pounds off. And I tortured myself to be able to breastfeed, like going weekly to the breastfeeding clinic, putting a lot of pressure on myself, trying everything, using every book, using like these huge nursing pillows and all the things. And as much as I was trying to do it because it was healthy for the kids, like, let's be honest, you can't tell a formula fed kid from a breastfed kid once they get older, right? Like it would have been fine if I had just let myself off the hook there, but it was kind of like wanting to lose weight. I knew that breastfeeding was going to help me lose weight. And that was, I think, the reason that I was so focused on it. So all these things you don't really think about it till after, when you're more aware of your own mental health issues and body image issues. And then you just start to see it kind of everywhere in society, everywhere in your day-to-day life, everywhere in our fitness industry. And so it is definitely something that I am passionate about, kind of just asking people to look inside a little bit, because it's helped me a lot. Honestly, since I stopped counting calories, I kicked the scale to the curb, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. I don't know what I weigh. And that is freedom. It is absolute freedom to me. And I focus on movement for performance. And I know my body changes, like my body, and I am privileged. I mean, because being in a larger size body, I know from research I've done and having worked with folks that are in larger size bodies, they face incredible discrimination in workplaces, in healthcare, all over. And I don't have that issue. I don't have to deal with what other folks who are in larger size bodies deal with on a daily basis. This is just my own internal struggle, but I think a lot of people could relate no matter what size they're in. But we have somehow in our society made fitness and being in a smaller size body some kind of like evaluation of our personal worth to society, which really angers me, because I think it stops people from moving. And we focus the focus fitness marketing and bringing people to it. I'm talking generally, not you and I as fit pros, but to focus on weight loss versus moving for health, moving for function, and moving for the feel of it, more for the look of it. And I just would love everyone to kind of consider putting the appearance side of fitness on the back burner, like neutralize it, like just normalize any body being as active as that person wants to be. Because even if someone's in a larger body and they're being more physically active, somehow that's a better thing, but that's completely ableist, right? So we just need to really kind of look at all of the layers of our world these days. And I'm glad we're having conversations like this to open it up.
Yeah, no, totally. And thank you, Beth. There was so many wonderful moments in there, and I was scribbling down some notes as we were going. Yes, lots to think about. And I think we can come back to kind of those unconscious biases or conscious biases and assumptions in a moment. But I kind of want to dial back a little bit into your story to ask you if the pressure that you felt to lose weight pre or postnatal, if that came from you or if that came from an external source.
Yeah, it came from family, I think, for sure. Initially, anytime I lost weight, because I definitely cycled a lot growing up even, which is super unhealthy. It's not necessarily being in a larger size body that's unhealthy, it's weight cycling that's unhealthy. And I did that a lot, and so did my mom. But anytime anybody in my family lost weight, we were praised. And I am an attention seeker, so I love recognition. And when I got recognition for losing weight, I was somehow more loved, right? And I also got shamed by my dad for growing into a teenager's body, which had curvier hips and thighs. And he made comments that were very hurtful. And those are hard to get rid of. Like, and yeah, and I mean, I've been married for 20 years next month. And I've been with my husband for 25 years. And I've never felt that pressure from him at all. And he's seen me through many iterations in this body, different sizes and shapes and levels of ability. And so, yeah, there's those kind of family ones. The people that you love the most should never be the ones that say any comments about your body, good or bad. Like, I think that we should just be neutral there. And then just, yeah, in who, looking at who's in front of the room, I was lucky in the group fitness studio I worked at, in the gym, in the small community I first got certified in. Our group fitness manager had a larger body, but she was always trying to lose weight too. So there was a bit of like, yeah, shaming, right? And so it was never celebrated. Like it was always, oh, I wish I had that body. Like we all said it. We all wanted to be focused on like that, which is so weird because there exists body diversity in the world. Like just like you would go into the forest and you would walk around, you would see a diversity of plants and species in a forest. And yet in human life, there's sort of this mythical thin ideal of what is a valued body. But I would love for us to all just embrace diversity a little bit more in terms of shapes and sizes.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. And the reason I asked that question wasn't necessarily even to pry Beth, was just for people to understand that, you don't have to be in an industry for this to occur. Like it can happen just in your family setting, and and you think that you are doing good, or maybe you're thinking about sabotage, but just in your own family dynamic, nothing to do with the industry that you're in. Are you using kind words regardless of what's going on? Are you giving praise for the right reasons? But, are you also giving praise for encouragement, not just the outcome, if you're trying to make change? So I think it's important that we all kind of look at the dynamic around us and the people around us and see how we can best support them on whatever journey that might be, irrespective of the industry that they're in. Because quite clearly, I guess that influence for you, Beth, is then what led to your own mental self-talk and that own self-sabotage. Am I right? That's kind of where it was fostered and created. So
yeah, and I think in society too. I mean, I loved all the celebrity magazines and celebrity TV shows, and I followed all that in my 20s. And it just was like, well, what's the diet so-and-so is doing, or has so-and-so gained weight? And it's this big like, oh my gosh, shocker. So it is society, and then that kind of goes into family. And just, I mean, my ballet teacher told me and my mom that I would never be able to dance well because I didn't have a ballerina body. And I remember being really young and not even really understanding that. But my mom did switch dance studios. And then I was shamed in the change room by the other girls because I had a larger body than them. So like, it was everywhere. It was everywhere. And the thing is, like, there's nothing wrong with anyone wanting to lose weight, because that's normal. That's because of where we live in this society, this diet culture. There's always this pressure to be in a thinner body. It's not right. It's not great, but it's normal to want to lose weight, right? So I don't want to shame anybody for wanting to be in a smaller size body, especially in these times of COVID, because people have not been moving as much, and their eating habits likely have changed. I just saw a study that said 74% of Canadians, or survey respondents in Canada, said that their eating habits had changed since the pandemic. 40% said they've gained weight. So we're going to see more and more rhetoric about COVID weight gain, even more as things start to open up. And I think as an industry, if we stop marketing weight loss, we will do the world a good of service, because we can focus on moving for function, moving just to feel better, moving for mental health, moving for body acceptance, moving for healing, internal healing, external healing. Those sorts of things will, I think, keep people more consistently active than the up and down roller coaster of weight cycling, aggressive exercise as punishment, restrictive diets, which are not long term. They're just not long lasting. And that's what creates weight cycling, which can then make you feel like you somehow failed, but you were never set up for success in the first place. And so your body image takes another hit, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think we hear this more and more in the industry now about consistency, to try and, reduce that weight cycling or exercise cycling, right? I'm going to go as hard and fast as I can for 3 months, and then I'm not going to exercise at all. But actually looking at the consistency of what you're doing and then making it functional to I guess, assist you in your life. And you touched on that, when you had your babies, like that's what you needed at that time, was consistency and fitness that was functional for you at that moment. So I guess my question to you, Beth, is, what, from an industry perspective, whether it's a fitness business or a fitness professional, like, what do you think that we can begin to do to take that pressure off weight loss, or that immediate assumption that someone's coming to the gym for weight loss?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I mean, I definitely have conversations like this all the time in the work that I do at canfitpro. And I work with a really great, contributor to canfitpro, subject matter expert on personal training. And we have these conversations all the time because the truth is, Nicky, people are always going to have a body composition goal. They're going to join the Knock Academy with a body composition goal. They're going to want to lose weight or gain muscle, and they're going to join the gym for the same reason. Again, not to shame people, but to meet them where they're at and to support them, and to gently and just, really praise consistency, not praise weight loss, not praise anything about appearance in their body, like having more toned muscles or anything like related to appearance. Let's start to really praise their consistency. Let's recognize them for their strength. Let's recognize them when you start to see those compound effects happening over time. It's like getting 1% better every single workout. And so then I've heard it, your members talk about it in your podcast, just how, doing yoga and Pilates and seeing, not even realizing how strong her knees are getting. I'm thinking about Nancy, until she really noticed that she didn't have the same pain anymore. And I mean, let's focus on that as an industry. Let's stop saying things like obesity epidemic, because it's not true. It's like, it's just, there's so much political nuance geared up in that kind of term about obesity epidemic. I mean, just the fact that in 1998, the whole number range on BMI was lowered so that more people were suddenly in that obese range. So, I mean, there's just a lot of political things all rolled up into obesity and overweight and what makes somebody healthy. And it's not body size. It's just not body size. But does movement contribute to health? Yes. But that's also like, can you afford to be a member of a gym? Can you afford to eat more vegetables and fruits and buy produce that is fresh at the store? It's expensive. It's more expensive than prepared foods. Do you live in a food desert, or is food readily available? I mean, there's just a lot of things even built, like social economic things that are built into weight. There's over 100 reasons why someone is the weight they are. And it's not all genetic, and it's definitely not all individual choice. It's where we live. It's how much money we make. It's our education. Are we immigrants to this country? Like, it's so many things. And so I think as an industry, if we just take weight loss and move it to the back burner and just like neutralize bodies, that people can show up in the body they're in and be celebrated for performance goals and quality of life goals, and consistency in movement. And I really feel if we drop the body shame stuff, more people will become members of the Knock Academy and the gyms, the big commercial gyms of the world, because they'll feel more welcomed. They'll feel like they belong there. And it's going to take a while. Like I definitely am an optimist, but it's going to take a while for things to shift. So I think that's my long-winded message about how we can
we can help.
Yeah, I want to just have a kinder fitness industry. Like, we can all just be kinder. And in doing these kinds of body image sessions at the canfitpro conference, you really start to see just how many fit pros are hurting too, that they need to do a lot of healing themselves. And that's where fat phobia really comes in, and looking at that. It's like, am I afraid of being in a larger body? That's internalized fat phobia. It's not just discriminating against people in larger bodies. It's also being afraid of gaining weight. And that was my whole adult life. And I'm still triggered by that, and teenage life, right? It's just these triggers still pop up, but I'm more aware, and I can nip that pretty quick.
Yeah. And I think that's really powerful, right? Like controlling and owning your self-talk. And, I hear it all the time, like, I'm not fit enough to go to the gym. I'm not skinny enough to go to the gym. People that look like me don't go to the gym. I can't do yoga. I'm not flexible enough. There's so much self-talk. So, delving back into your story a little bit, like what was the shifting gears to change that self-talk? Did you seek help? Was there somebody that influenced you? Did you read something? Like, how can somebody change their own self-talk, Beth?
Yeah, I think it's definitely getting professional help. I had a psychologist who helped me quite a bit. I read a lot of books and I started going to conferences about eating disorders. And that's where I learned about the health at every size philosophy, is going to a conference a number of years ago. And I was shocked, Nikki. I thought, really? Like you could be healthy at any size? Like really? Like I just couldn't believe it. And it was so enlightening to delve into the research of academics like Lindo Bacon. They are the kind of founder or the academic behind the Health at Every Size movement, which has really become its own kind of like activism for folks in larger size bodies. And it's very evidence-based that you can be healthy at any size. So I think that was the big trigger for me is reading more about that. I did take some sessions about fat phobia, and that opened up a lot for me, looking at myself and just looking at my own opinions and that unconscious bias and making it conscious, and then working to be aware of when that happens and apologize for when I do things that I'm not proud of. And I think in retrospect, I mean, I teach classes, right? So I sometimes say things where it's like, oh, like I did all the things, like weighing people in public places, measurements, photos, before and after photos, weight loss groups. Like I did all those things. And yeah, I don't do them anymore because I definitely shamed my clients unknowingly, unintentionally. But I had those moments where I look back and I go, yeah, I don't want to be that person anymore. I definitely want to be a kinder fit pro.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember this was back in England. The first thing we did as a gym instructor. So, hey, you've just joined the gym. We sat you down. We put a blood pressure monitor on you. We took your blood pressure. Like, hello, my name's Nikki. Let me take your blood pressure. And then you just went through like this random series of questions. And now I look back at it, I'm like, oh, that's so brutal. Like, and if you didn't pass the blood pressure test, we just sent you on your way. Like, sorry, you can't do it. Like, and then if you failed some preliminary questions, and then one of the other gyms I worked at was a skin fold caliper test. Mm-hmm. Like I've never met you before. Hey, I'm just gonna pinch your skin. So these things, I mean, not to age us here, Beth, but I mean, these things were a while ago, right? Like I've been in the industry 20 years, like, and I know things have moved and shifted, but I think sometimes some of the mindsets and the approaches haven't. So maybe if you're listening like right now, or you're watching us on YouTube, maybe just take a little look at what you're doing, or maybe even what your company that you work for is doing, and just see if there's opportunities to make change, right? And it might not be something that you, like you said, that you're doing wrong on purpose. You just don't know. You just don't know until you know, right? And now looking back, both you and I are like, oh yeah, like I did that, or I said that, whether it was something I wanted to implement or the company I was working for. So, maybe just take that opportunity now to have a look back and think, yeah, maybe this might not be the right way to do things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because a lot of people, of course, they want to come to a gym and start being more active because they do have a weight loss goal. Again, meet folks where they're at, be compassionately curious. And oftentimes it's because they just want to feel better. Well, you know what? They're going to just feel better no matter if their weight goes down or not. And because let's be honest, your self-esteem is internally driven. Like I was at my lowest weight and I still didn't feel good about myself. I still wanted to lose more. And that was so unhealthy, but it was internally. I think that's the other stuff, is starting to just see the value I bring as a person, not as a body, like my personality, my talents, like the way I communicate with people. I'm a connector. I care about people. I like to ask people about themselves and use that curiosity and then connect them to other people and resources, and just like you do. And I think that's why we enjoy each other so much. And yeah, just learning. And those are some of the things that have nothing to do with my body size, right? So
Okay.
I think I would encourage folks to start really identifying what their internal self-worth is being driven by, and make it really about your personal characteristics, not about your body.
Yeah, agreed. And touching back on, seeking help. It's okay to ask for help, right? If you want to go see a professional and talk it through, then I would recommend it. I saw a social worker as well, and actually it was around my postpartum journey, which I'm going to get back to in a minute. But if you identify something and you catch yourself with that, those negative self-talk or self-reflection, it's okay to ask for help and seek help to find that clarity. And I, as an individual myself, it brought me success, and obviously listening to your story, Beth, it seemed to do the same for you as well, which is great. So don't be fearful to make change, and ask for help. And that kind of segues me really quite nicely back into the whole pregnancy, motherhood, and body image around that. Now, some of the issues I had, I'm not going to use the word issues. Some of the thoughts I had were around my body image, my self-worth and identity, but it was actually linked to the fitness industry too. Being a fitness professional for 20 years, like I said, right? And you're kind of on this pinnacle on the stage, literally. And you need to motivate others. So you've got to look a certain way. You've got to move a certain way. I obviously then went through pregnancy, and I taught all the way through my pregnancy as well. I taught yoga right up until pretty much like 2 weeks prior, and weight training. But all the way during that time, I felt I was being judged because, I gained weight during pregnancy. Really? Who doesn't, right?
You need to.
You're nodding along with me, right?
You actually need to gain weight, during, like a lot of weight during pregnancy. It's part of the whole process.
Yes, I have a person inside me and just heaps of fluid, and that's all that you need to know. Okay. So I kind of felt like a fraud during pregnancy, although I felt competent. It was still me. Like you said, it's still me, regardless of what I look like on the outside. But then I felt severe pressure, like, when is it the right time to get back on the stage and do what I do? Am I going to be judged? I don't look right. I'm not going to move in the same way. I don't have the same strength as I had before. And that weighed so heavily on me. And that was a huge part of what drove my anxiety. And it wasn't until talking to a professional that I kind of dug a little deeper, and this managed to come out. And a lot of it was just from loss of self-identity. And I actually, yes, I'm totally going to shamelessly do a plug. I actually wrote a book. I was part of a co-author project called Mumming Hard, where, we it's wonderful. It's 23 women, and we share, our own mumming hard stories. And in here, I share my story of that loss of sense of self, and body image and body awareness, directly linked to the industry. I'm curious to know if I would have the same thoughts if I wasn't in the industry. Maybe yes, because like you said, there's still society pressure. But, reaching out for help and getting to a point where you feel comfortable enough to say, I'm going to do this regardless. I'm ready. Right. And then stepping up there, and actually, once I was up there and teaching and coaching, to hear other women say that was inspirational. It's so great to see you, etc., etc. only then helps that healing process moving you forward.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's my story around the kind of during pregnancy and after pregnancy. And I'm sure there's a few people that can relate to that. And obviously you can relate to it too. I mean, what was your experiences in that space? Because you were a fitness professional then, right? When you went through your pregnancies.
I was not teaching or doing any personal training when I was pregnant, because it was and anyway, I kind of did my own thing. I was swimming, and anyway, sure. I would ask you, Nikki, if going up on stage after having Harley, if folks would actually see you as more relatable because you just had a baby, and many people in the room probably have had babies or want to or will one day, and see you through your journey. Like, bodies change, like your bodies change. We just need to normalize that, right? Whether you're in the aging process, which we all have, or you have a baby, or you have an injury, or whatever, you're in a global pandemic, bodies change. And so let's just normalize that and make that relatable, because I think that is relatable to everyone. So I would say that first, thinking about that as you kind of put that pressure on yourself at the time, and understandably, right? But it's also your personality, that it's how you make people feel when you facilitate group fitness. It's not how you look. And because you're amazing at multi-level teaching and facilitating all levels of class or all levels of fitness, you are making people feel as you coach and cue them through the movements. And you don't always have to do, I mean, as Fit Pros, we don't always have to do the highest intensity, most challenging version of the exercise. You can demo it once. Or sometimes I even like tap a friend who's in the class on the shoulder and say, hey, Laura, would you be the higher intensity option? I don't even try to say, I just say now, I try to normalize and neutralize the language even around, this is another way to do this move. Yeah. Here's another way to do this move. And I start at the base level, like, let's get in a quad position. Okay, we're going to lift our knees. Okay, now another way to do this is to crawl forward. Another way to do this is to stabilize and lift one leg. So like, we all start at the same place. And then those who want to do it a different way and see how it feels in their body, because what feels challenging to me in my body might not feel challenging to somebody else. I'm just making an assumption that it's the harder level, right? So I think that's something else in the fitness industry. We can start thinking about levels and what's hard and what's not, and just someone's body size, like even like how tall they are, how long their appendages are, can make a movement feel different. It doesn't matter how much fat is on the body, right? It's all these things, again, layered in. But my story around coming in back into the fitness industry after I had my kids, like I started my business, a fitness business, as an entrepreneur. And my whole story was that I lost 100 pounds, because I did. I gained over 100 pounds and then I lost it. It took me about a year. At the end, I was definitely, well, for most of it, I was restricting. Like once I stopped breastfeeding, especially, I was, oh no, I'm not burning an extra 500 calories a day through breastfeeding. Let me do that math, make sure I hit that calorie deficit. So what am I doing? I got the heart rate monitor on, I'm tracking everything, I'm eating, I'm weighing myself. And I got down to the smallest I'd ever been, but I was starving. And I remember like doing in-home personal training with clients. They all wanted to lose weight. My whole thing, I thought I was only going to sell my services as an in-home personal trainer and group fitness instructor for moms if I marketed that I had this phenomenal 100-pound weight loss, right? And I've gained it back, not 100 pounds, but I'm definitely not what I was when I started my business. And that's because my body just can't be in that shape. Like, I was exhausted. I was not a pleasant person to be around. It was not good for my marriage. Like, I wouldn't eat carbs. My husband likes pasta. Like, it was like not good. Like, my whole family's eating pasta and, sauce, and I'm having spaghetti squash. And then I'm hungry later. And then I binge when they're all asleep. Right. And then shamefully hide it. So I'm so glad I'm not in that anymore, because I like pasta too. And it makes me think better and have more energy and feel like I'm sharing a meal with my family. And like having teen daughters, I got to be so careful about the food stuff, right? And I was like, I always use that. I got to get my nutrition in shape because I got to be a good role model for my kids. Well, I kind of just taught them to be intuitive eaters. And, you know, I'm really, really trying to not do the shame about food and like eating chips or having sweets, and they're at high school and they're talking about getting fries every day. And I'm in my head, it's a trigger for me for sure. I want to say something about the fries and the chips, but I don't, because I know that contributes to body shame and then starts to contribute to this whole good, bad food dichotomy, which is again, just crap. So there's just, again, there's a lot of layers.
So there's a lot of layers, and let's just say it's a really hard job being a parent. Like just trying to control what you eat, let alone another human being, is tough. I want to go back a few conversations. So you said that your whole sales pitch to moms was, I gained 100 pounds when I was pregnant and I lost it all, and you can too. Like, I'm curious, like, did it work? You know, were people really like, I want that trainer because I want that to happen to me? Like, did that get a good response?
I think it did to some people.
Right.
And some of them are still my friends. Like one, I do train her virtually once a week, and she doesn't live in the same community as me anymore. She mentioned to me in one of our training sessions, because we talk about goals, and she knows my journey, and she's like, I just want to lose weight. Like, I just want to, but I know I shouldn't want to lose weight. And it's like, it's okay. It's normal to want to lose weight, and it's okay. And, you know, I'm not going to emphasize that, but I'm going to get you moving consistently. And I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader on movement, and, you know, really paying attention to your hunger cues and your fullness cues, and being more on that intuitive eating side, and, not restricting and not doing all the calorie counting stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, she had mentioned to me, I had personal trained her early in my career, and she had said, I want to like lose weight like you. We have a similar body type. She mentioned things like that. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's me and my relationship with her and how we make each other feel being together. It's not about the body anymore, but perhaps it did at the beginning. But I got a lot of personal training clients from teaching group classes. And I think it's because when you're teaching group, so in my head, I thought the only way people are going to buy from me is if they know my weight loss story.
Yeah.
But in reality, it was more, I was hired to teach group fitness classes for a mommy group, an amazing moms group. And I taught 3-4 classes a week at different locations. And there was a constant rotating stream of moms coming into these groups while they were on maternity leave. And some of them would approach me to do personal training with them in home. And it's because of how they felt safe with me. They trusted me. They enjoyed and had fun in the workouts that were group. So they just assumed that would be the same experience in their home one-on-one. So it wasn't about weight loss, but in my mind, I told myself that story. But in reality, reflecting back, it was because they connected with me. And I think that's, again, it's how you make people feel. It's not, yeah, I mean.
No, I'm so glad you answered that in that way, because that's kind of what I was kind of delving into. Isn't it interesting that we think that that's the prime motivator? And I'm not downplaying the fact that you lost weight if that's what you wanted to do, right? And that was fantastic, but it's not necessarily what everybody wants. So isn't it funny how what you thought would bring you clients didn't? Mm-hmm. What actually brought you clients was being real, being human, being who you are, because, you know, people gravitate to people. Mm-hmm. You know, if you've been an absolute, yeah, right? Like, I don't want to surround myself with that individual, regardless that you lost 100 pounds or not. They don't want to train with you. They want to train with you because you're Beth and you make them smile and you give them all the feels. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's an important message, you know, and I still see it now. I still see it all over social media. Lose 4 million pounds in 10 seconds with me. Well, they must be a great trainer, right? Like, why is that the immediate place we go to when advertising services still? You know, mm-hmm. Why don't you be the personal trainer or the group fitness instructor that says, I can help you feel good, move well, and be consistent? Mm-hmm. and selfishly, again, shamelessly, even plugging the Knock Academy, our three things really are community, accountability, and online. That's the functional part of it, but really community and accountability, like those are our two main things. And if we get both of those things coming and going and firing, chances are people are going to stay with you, they're going to be involved, and then that's when they begin to see results, whatever those results may be. And I think a lot of people, when they enter into a workout regime, they might think that they want to lose weight. That's the number one, but it's not until they get going that they realize actually that was never really the focus. And then it becomes a byproduct, right? Because you shift your mindset. Actually, it was just to be with like-minded people and to move and breathe. And oh, by the way, as a byproduct, I've lost weight, or as a byproduct, I've got stronger. So just shifting the focus a little bit about how you market and the language you use, because we're all very good in the fitness industry of, I promise with me, you will. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's moving away from the quantifiable outcomes, like the results, like even like managing expectations when folks join the Knock Academy or join my stuff that I do. It's like, there's no results. Like the results are community and accountability. That is from day one. And that will be more and more meaningful to people as they stay and become more consistent over time. They're going to build those relationships with you and Gareth. They're going to build relationships with the other community members, and they're holding each other accountable. And that is the result, I don't think. And then the byproduct, because someone could lose weight as a byproduct, but if we overemphasize that and they gain weight back because something happens in their life, like they get older, that's going to just happen, or they have to step away from fitness for a little while, or they start enjoying wine more, who knows? Like bodies change. So instead of like celebrating the byproduct of the weight loss, just just neutralize it. I think that would be like, I think the strength is one thing. But because I think that, I don't know, but even that is kind of ableist too, right? Like we celebrating. And I have these discussions in my head all the time about how I'm framing things when I'm facilitating fitness. And is it ableist? Is it fat phobic? And who could I be possibly triggering or hurting? So I've actually, in my intake forms with my PARQ now, I'm asking my clients, is there anything that is going to trigger you that I might say? And I do put that out in the classes on a regular basis. Hey, if there's a way I'm coaching or cueing you and saying something, would you please tell me? Because I just want to be a kinder fitness pro, and I don't want to trigger you. And I get triggered. I had to stop following the hashtag body positive on Instagram because it was triggering me, because it's not body positive. It's been co-opted by weight loss people. And I'm like, I can't take it anymore. Like I got to stop following that hashtag and stop using it. And so it's just these things kind of come and go, right? And one day it might be like, oh, that made me feel bad about myself. And I don't want to be that fit pro to anybody. I want to support them where they're at. And I think the people who are with me now, they just appreciate the lack of focus on appearance. They appreciate the functionality of the workouts that we do and the kind of chit chat after that we have, because it's social. And those Zoom workouts got me through the pandemic during the lockdowns, because I didn't have any other social life. Like I love those women.
Yeah, and that's a huge part, of why we do what we do, right? Community, for sure. But you know what? I think it's really important what you touched on there, which is the words that we use. And let's just say it's not easy, right? So I can imagine people are listening to this and like, I love everything you're saying, but now I just don't know what to say. Like, I feel like I'm stuck, and I'm like, anything I say may be offensive. So I think what you said was really important, to continuously ask for feedback. Like where possible, you can switch out words already that are in your vocabulary, but then it's not until you talk to individuals that you may then begin to learn more. So it's okay to be curious. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to get it wrong, because next time you're going to get it right. So I don't want people to listen to this and be like, okay, I want to make change, but quite clearly, whatever I'm going to say is going to be wrong. Hey, look, it might be, but just just start. Just the fact that you are now aware that some of your language might not be inclusive, that's okay. Like just small steps. And, you know, it's like I said, it's a struggle for me. I came into this industry where it was okay to take skin fold caliber tests on day one, right? So, you know, I have to keep checking myself as well. So you raised a really good point about continuously asking feedback and being vulnerable.
Yeah, we're going to be more and more aware as the months and years go on as well. And so we're just scratching the surface right now. I think if we do this podcast again in a year, we will have an even bigger awareness of things that could be harmful. We want to stop doing harm, I think, in this industry, and help people stop harming themselves through diet and exercise, to find that intuitive movement. Like if it feels fun, and sometimes it doesn't feel fun, but it feels like, wow, I accomplished something after. And that's the fun, when you're like, yeah, I did something I couldn't do before. I never saw myself. Like I've gotten into weightlifting in the last 6 months, and I'm doing things I never saw myself doing. Right. So I think, and that can happen at any age. So yeah, I want to be the fit pro who's still lifting in my 80s and teaching fitness in my 80s. And that's the goal, because I want to have a long life, and not a long lifespan, but a long health span. I just want to be fully functional for the years that I'm living. Because I don't want to, my dad's in a home with dementia. Like he doesn't know any of us. I don't want to be that. That started at 68. So I want to be the person who has a long health span, mentally and physically. And I just came to terms with that. Doesn't matter what my body looks like.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Beth, for sharing your stories, sharing some insights, and just really provoking mindful thoughts around this. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here just to kind of wrap up. So I was wondering if you could kind of maybe like your top 3 things that, you know, somebody who's listening this can take away to begin to change their awareness around body image, whether it's for themselves or other people, right? And letting go and being aware of perhaps conscious or unconscious biases, and just steps that they can take in the right direction to make change. Hopefully that's given you enough time now to think.
Yeah, hopefully. I don't know if I have 3. I mean, I think the biggest thing we can all do is just start to look at our internalized fat phobia. It's a big problem. Weight and size are, I've heard, the last socially acceptable form of discrimination in society. There's a lot of discrimination in society, but somehow we can comment on people's bodies and we can make judgments about people's bodies based on their size. So, you know, I think your own personal healing, if you're hearing this, and how you even just view the world and your fears about, you know, your own body becoming larger or any of that, is just start looking at fat phobia, and perhaps doing some reading about that. Looking at the Health at Every Size movement. There's a lot of great evidence, scientific evidence there. A lot of great psychologists are part of that movement. And just start to, maybe on a personal level, just notice how you feel every time you move your body. Like, and don't focus on how it looks, but focus on the feeling. Maybe that means turning off your camera. Maybe that means getting rid of mirrors and not going to studios that have mirrors, or being in a like mirror-free part of the studio. And just noticing your body and how it feels. Maybe writing that down for yourself and being reflective. I think those would be some of the things that you can start to build your awareness and start to get some freedom in your mind and shift your mindset around what movement is for you. And it's different for all of us, but it facilitates your unique personality and character traits and how you show up in this world as a human. But it doesn't necessarily have to facilitate like how you look.
Yeah, I love that. And I just want to add in, you know, ask questions, be curious, be respectful, and just have great conversations. Always be seeking to understand and learn more. Hey, Beth, thank you so much for joining me today. Wonderful discussions. Like I said, wonderful thought-provoking moments for me, and I'm sure everybody listening or watching on YouTube. So thanks again for being a fantastic guest today. Hey, don't forget to follow us on all of our social channels. Everything can be found in our notes section. And hey, please pass on all of our information to somebody you care about so they can follow the Knock Academy. They can follow this podcast. Once again, everything is in the session notes. Go ahead, give us a 5-star review. Show us the love. We appreciate it. Until next time, thanks for joining us today. Bye-bye.